to kneel down, and I don't feel like that. I don't want shit on my knees. I don't want the hard ground. So we would put in seating around it. It's built with concrete and rock work. We try and make as comfortable as possible the seating. It's really critically important. Rather than bringing hot rocks into it, which is the way you would normally heat these, sometimes they're just, branches and hides or blankets. And you can make a temezcal in really simple ways. But I want to build one, and I want to build it so it's amazing. Now, we can still use it for ritual purposes, and that's its main thing. But I'm basically borrowing the design, and I'm going to go when it's a sauna. If other people want to make a temezcal in it, that's fine. There's people who lead temezcals. There's various kinds of them. I went to a workshop about them. And I'm going to make some changes. That's what I do. I want, for example, glass bottle in the roof. The roof is going to be like a ferro cement. And I want some glass bottles that let in moonlight, sunlight. We can always make them so we can cover them up, maybe. But I usually want lighting in places. I don't like being stuck in a dark place with people and stuff. Another really important aspect, and this should be so exciting, is rather than bring the hot rocks in from the fire, right? Which is work, and you have to carry hot rocks, and it doesn't heat it up that well. And I want the thing hot all the time anyway. So here's what we do. In the seating, okay, and maybe that seating is insulated from the ground, or maybe it isn't. I don't know if that matters. And this solves a problem I have in my other sauna. My other sauna takes forever to heat up because it has too much thermal mass in the rock work. So you have to heat up a firebox for a really long time, all the time. It's so annoying. It takes hours and hours to prepare it, and it never quite gets as hot as I want. It's too hot for some people, but it's just a pain in the ass. The way we heat this sauna is absolutely critical. It is evacuated tube solar hot water heaters placed just slightly downslope from the sauna, okay, right on the hillside, probably maybe dug in. I don't know where this is going to be at. Location is a whole other problem. But if the slope is exactly correct, if we pick the right spot for it, rather than force us putting it in the spot we want to, it's just one factor, big factor, is this solar hot water heater can run heat into PEX tubing that is all inside that bench. Now, maybe that's dangerous, because maybe that's too hot. I'm not sure. Maybe we use a radiator, like a car radiator even, and that hot water is just continually pouring up into the building is the point. It gets it hot. Now, I did kind of balk at the PEX tubing in the bench, because I don't trust PEX tubing. There could be an earthquake and break it. Now I've got a stupid system. And I don't want to heat the seat up too much so it's uncomfortable. That could be possible. So there's some engineering behind this that I'm not qualified to do. Often you do radiant floor heating, but we could also swap out the size, as we learn, the size of that solar hot water heater. Because the bigger it is, the hotter it's going to get in there. Now, another thing I'd like to have is a firebox. And there's two reasons for this. One, I have plenty of wood. Two, maybe, and we'll find out after we do this, but the solar hot water heater's got to be the main heat source. Absolutely critical, okay? If not, then we failed. A lot of places in the world don't even have wood, and we're trying to reduce water use in places that don't have a lot of resources. We're rich in wood here, but we're also trying to solve for places, in Africa, the Middle East, places with damaged landscapes that humans have destroyed over tens of thousands of years. So, but I want to talk about that firebox briefly then, because the reason to do that is, first of all, it's fed from the outside. It's fed from a place that's easy to get to for the person who's feeding it. And it's not very big. It's going to have a glass plate that faces the inside of the sauna, sealed really well against smoke and stuff, and maybe not right next to the fire. Maybe it's a little further in. Maybe we pull the fire back a little bit. And then maybe we have metal around the tube that goes to the glass. I'm not sure. It should be small enough so that it's not very big, and you can use relatively small logs to feed it. We could make a bigger firebox, but this one is for lighting and ambiance. Maybe what I'm saying is wrong, but if we do figure out the evacuated tube solar hot water heater can do the job, then we can make a smaller firebox. The other issue is maybe the evacuated tube solar hot water heater will fail in the far future, and we won't have access to buy another one for some reason. In which case we built the firebox too small because it's not powerful enough to heat up the whole sauna. In that case, maybe we should look at a small fireplace, like an airtight, the smallest that they make. Place it within the sauna. Have a door to the wood be outside and near a sitting spot and stuff like that. And then have that be protected within so that nobody gets hurt. But then coil copper around that or something and radiate as much heat away from that fire as possible. We want to harvest the heat and distribute it as much as possible. And we want whoever makes that small airtight stove to make us a custom one that has a glass in the back that is heat tempered and allows that light into the sauna. That's a very critical part. So in this case, it's a kind of a waffling, a little bit like hedging our bets. Having a professionally made airtight, probably. I mean, I have a firebox I had made. It works. I didn't install it in a good way. It caught the wall on fire. I'm not always a good engineer. The point is, I think you see what I'm describing. That's what I want. And that is the correct solution for that kind of thing for the sauna. Now, it is weird that it's made out of concrete. That's because I don't want to keep assembling things and having tarps. We could do that too. If somebody wants to make a traditional sauna, just don't have fires. Don't set things on fire and get it all approved by me first. So that's a different project. That's an example of a project someone else could do. Yeah, so let's get back to water. So if we counted up all the water that we could possibly capture, and then we decided which of it we're going to capture, and hopefully it's most of it. I don't know how many thousand square feet I have of roof, but it's probably around 4,000 square feet of roof, much of which is not very good for collecting water. There's roofs I need to replace, there's roofs I need to build, mainly it's not guttered and I have no storage. So let's assume that we can capture all the water that we can. I suspect that would cost tens of thousands of dollars. Each one of those buildings has to be guttered, and you need to buy those big tanks to hold it. Now, so a budget has to happen to do that. And it can be then divided into stages where it's like, okay, we're going to do this stage now, and we'll do this other stage later. So it could be that we fund stage one of that, and we succeed. What are the benefits of having water in other places? Because the water is going to be distributed pretty far out. It depends totally on the place. Extra water off the lodge could definitely be used for the sauna that then keeps people cleaner. Next to the sauna, we do want to hook up a hot water heater that actually this could be part of the other hot water heater system. Like it could heat up shower water too. That's totally possible. That would be a bright addition actually. That somewhere around there you have a high enough insulated tank, and then in theory that would be the hottest water. Maybe a valve, we can turn it on and off, I don't know, but it would be super great to have solar hot water heated shower. That's trickier. It's doable. A raised thermos-like thing that has a tube coming out of it that you can, use as a spray or something. Because in a lot of cases you just got to rinse off. After after being in the sauna for a while, it's nice to have a scrubby thing, and I should sell those in a store here. A scrubby glove thing. Somebody gave me one. They're awesome. I don't shower that often, and especially if you just took a sauna, you know, later on that night you might be peeling your skin, and it'll just kind of roll off more. That means you were really dirty, and it's really easy to get dirty here because, you know, I don't have a good sauna system. We don't fire it up very often. The shower system here sucks. The shower situation, and so I'm trying to solve that with this project. Other uses for this water, okay? Agriculture. I hate to say this, and I'm going to do other videos about just agriculture, but we do currently use water for plant reproduction. So that's one of our uses of water, and there really isn't any way to get around that except a bunch of small systems that we can tweak and fine-tune, where we could have plant reproduction and do drip irrigation. I'm not a big fan of drip irrigation. We can have plants in shady areas that are really protected, and we can increase the amount of water into those when we want to. That's a brilliant idea. That could be done behind the lodge in the place that we did mud wrestling. That's being done down by the casita, where all of that extra water is being used now for some kind of agricultural thing. We're still developing that area. Each one of those projects affects it. The general rule is we don't use water for agriculture, but the truth is that if we can make a super microclimate, especially for the reproduction of plants, which won't need water later, we should really think long and hard about having any plants that you have to water, even though they're adults. Be very suspicious about that. Because designing your society off of those plants puts you at risk if you have a water shortage. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. You know, like if we had a Walipini, that's a dug-in greenhouse. I'd love to build that. That's an architectural project. Different video. A protected place, we could actually grow vanilla beans. Vanilla beans are grown in Mexico, and they're lovely. And you can put it into some alcohol, and it makes just the loveliest smelling thing. It's way better than artificial vanilla. I'm not a connoisseur of things. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a simple-minded person when it comes to food. But wow, it's like perfume. I wonder what would happen if a woman actually put that on its perfume. It might drive me nuts, I don't know. Because, anyway, so it's an orchid. And I like orchids. They're inherently kind of exotic and cool. And I've grown them before. But I don't do it here except for the ones that can live outside on their own with no water. And I have species that can do that. And I'm putting them back in the trees and stuff. Because we're trying to restore the biosystem here. We're trying to biodiversify, especially with native orchids. The Laelia species is the #1. That's agriculture. But the point is that we could water some things. Like if we sprayed orchids, it's not going to, you know, break our water bank. Now there's another water use that I'm going to tell you about, and this is another project proposal. Okay? First off, bird baths. I have a couple, and they're great. This time of year, it barely matters because it's raining often enough that there's, you know, spots in trees that are filled with water. There's spots here and over there. But then there's breaks in the rain, and the birds would love it if even in the rainy season, we had bird baths. Those can self-fill in some cases. Right over here, I've got a perfect place for bird baths because I've decided to let the water flow off this roof into this very, very wet garden, where some plants will die because it's too wet. And that's okay. I'm just learning from the plants where they like to live, you know? What do they like?